Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nokwaya, and if you're new here, I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe to my channel, join our little family. I'd really appreciate it. So in today's video, we're going to be doing things that, you know, us ladies love to do. We're going to be doing our makeup and we're going to be doing some chatting. So yeah, grab your tea, your coffee, or whatever, your iced tea if you're having that, and let's chat, let's do some makeup. Okay guys, so my mirror is this way, so I'm gonna tilt my body a little bit, but anyway, so I wanted to do this video and sort of just chat to you guys a little bit about my faith and, you know, just faith stuff, because I think like there's so much uncertainty in the world right now, and like things are just all over the place, and I know it can seem a little difficult for some people to kind of like get a grasp on what's happening. And for me, I know there are days where I'm just like, oh my gosh, will this ever end? It's insane, or whatever. And when I get those kind of thoughts, the one thing that has been able to sort of the one thing that has always been able to sort of like bring me back down from any kind of like depressive rabbit hole, or like when you start feeling sorry for yourself or start feeling scared about what's happening in the world, for me the one thing that always brings me back has been my faith and, you know, just God's word. So, and one thing that I know is that when it comes to faith, sharing your faith, for me at least, strengthens it. So I thought I'd kind of share that on my platform. And I also know that as I've gotten older, like I've become more attuned to the important things in life, such as faith, right? And I know that a lot of my audience is around the same age as me, so I thought I'd film this video and kind of just talk about that kind of stuff, because I figure there are people on here or who watch my videos that, you know, are of the same mind, or, you know, like-minded. So that being said, please don't mind if this video is all over the place, because, you know, I'm kind of just like letting my thoughts out to you guys as they come. I was thinking that, you know, when you hit rock bottom, right, and there's literally, like, you feel like there's literally nowhere else to go, except up, of course, I found that how you decide to get back up, or how you decide to stay up, you know, can be fueled or like pushed by any number of things. And for me that push, or that whatever force that helped me, you know, always helps me get back up, for me is God and of course my faith. And what I also find is that unless whatever it is that you're using to push you back up is something solid, you're not going to stay up. You're going to have constant, like when you have a dip, you're going to come down with that dip, because the trick is, even if there's an obstacle, whatever, you need to stay up, sort of. And I think if you don't have the right why behind you, you're definitely gonna come back down all the time. I think it's quite crazy that the way 2020 has been set up is that it allows for so much like introspection and like looking inside you, and like just like really thinking and like questioning, because one, we've had all this time, the world is moving at such a slow pace. Like yesterday I asked, what did I ask Yom? But I asked him something that was really stupid, and it wasn't that it was stupid, it was just I never had time to fully think about all these things. So there's so much time for like thoughts and expressions and all these things that you never gave time to. And that is honestly one of the reasons why I'm doing this video, because I'm hoping maybe I'll speak to someone that's in that space of thinking and just considering the world and how they view it and that kind of thing, right? For me, my moment of introspection was in 2014. That was such a rough year for me. I remember it was the year that I had like officially moved back home after studying in Cape Town for 5 years. And I mean, I was, I think, not so happy about being home, just because you guys know how it goes. Like if you go to school away from home, like you make new friends and you learn new things and you become this whole different person, and like the friends that you knew from before aren't necessarily like your vibe anymore. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not, right? So that's how it felt for me coming back home. Like I knew a lot of people, but I didn't really know them. And then of course at the time I was working as a candidate attorney, which in and of itself is so challenging because it's a lot, but obviously you also learn a lot. And I was also doing JTC classes. Now if you're working and you're doing JTC, you know that it's so much stress, guys. JTC itself is stress, the admin is stress, and doing it now after hours. So you basically work 8 to 5. JTC classes start at 5:30, and then they go to like 8 or 9 depending on the lecture, and then weekends you're doing assignments and stuff like that. So it was quite stressful, and I had obviously never like worked and studied at the same time, so even that balance for me was a lot. And at the time, and I didn't realize it, I had gotten out of a relationship in 2013. I had been aware that relationship was not a positive one. Like it was definitely like a negative space, like a negative energy space. And I had realized that, but I actually hadn't fully dealt maybe with the consequences of it, just because after I got out of it, I was surrounded by like my friends, and I was doing so much in varsity and res, you know, I was final year and all these things. So I didn't really like fully grasp like what the consequences of being in that negative space for such a long time were. And then when I came home and I sort of didn't have that community support or people like who understood that situation and all of that stuff, I sort of really started feeling the effects, and they started taking their toll on me. So in that time, for me, the only thing that sort of started to make sense was God. Because for me, I was like, well, you know, for the 24 odd years that I'd been on this planet, you know, he'd answered my prayers and he'd still answer them. So surely there was something there, right? So that's how I felt about God. But it wasn't really a very strong feeling, but it was just a feeling that, okay, sir, okay, I see you, I hear you. And I think it took me a while still after that realization to fully make that commitment to be like, okay, God, it's gonna be you and me. But once I did make that, okay guys, actually, let me stop here and do my brows and finish, because I just feel like I can't do brows and talk at the same time. Okay, so my brows are done for now. I'm gonna do the top later when I do my foundation. So anyway, where was I? Okay, so I was talking about my moment when I was like, when I had my aha moment of introspection and sort of like reflection, and being like, okay, what is it that I need to do to elevate my life, basically, and, you know, making that decision to kind of start my walk with God and like just doing that in my life. So that was kind of the space where I was, and so I was like, okay, why not? I mean, everything else is going to shit, excuse my French, but so that's kind of where I was. And I would say like the rest isn't necessarily history, but I'm obviously not going to talk about it because it's a lot. It's not history just because I feel like when you decide that, hey, this is a journey that I want to be on, this is something that I want to do in my life, it's not an easy one, because you're gonna fall and you're gonna falter, and but it's a beautiful journey, and it's definitely not easy, but it's beautiful. But the thing is, the key is, I think, every day making that decision, like, okay, I fell yesterday, but today I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna keep walking with him. I'm gonna keep growing closer to him, you know. I failed yesterday, but I'm gonna do it. And it's constantly doing that, because you know, when you do that, it's kind of like a renewal too of your mind, because you're like, okay, what happened yesterday happened, we're gonna learn from it, we're gonna grow from it, but we're also gonna be stronger from it and move forward, right? So it's a decision that you're gonna make over and over and over and over again. And so all of that now, me saying all of that, to sort of lead me to essentially the topic, or what I'm discussing in today's video, which is how in my journey I've like learned how to grow closer to God, and just talking about what that process was like for me. I don't think there's a step-by-step manual on how to do this. I think you just know, and you just know when something works. And I think it's such a relative thing. Like, my experience and the next person's experience are going to be two totally different things, and what works for me isn't necessarily going to work for the next person, because also that's just how God created us, you know. We're so different and individual and just our own people. There's no way that it's going to be a one-size-fits-all type of thing, you know. So anyway, so basically for me, the biggest thing in trying to learn how to draw closer to God was, I think, hearing God when he speaks. I don't think I was one of those people who felt like, hey, you know, this loud voice is gonna speak boom out of where, like a Morgan Freeman type of voice is gonna, my child. No, I was never one of those people. So I knew that it was gonna be a very personal thing, but what I didn't factor in was that I needed to quiet all the other voices in order to hear that one and to listen to it clearly. And what I mean by that is, I'm not psychotic, like I don't have voices in my head, but I mean just voices in the world from other people and stuff like that. So for example, you'd feel that God has placed something on your heart, or, you know, a word for you or whatever, and then you start questioning it and be like, are you sure? But God, is that, you know, is that the case? And personally for me, I'm an overthinker, and I love to second guess myself, which is one of my biggest flaws. Like, I love to second guess everything that I'm doing, like, and I'm so good at critiquing myself or something that I do to the point where it starts looking really bad. But basically, you know, I started sort of like, I'd question everything, and what I began to realize was that that second guessing was coming from somewhere. I'd be like, well, what will my friends think? Or this and this person said that, and, you know, but the news said this. So it was a lot of outside voices that were essentially kind of like influencing where and what significance I gave to God's voice. And so that's one of the things I sort of realized from the beginning, and it was one of the things I sort of had to learn how to like cut through the noise and kind of just focus on him. And again, there were many things that I did and still do to kind of get that focus. And I don't think it's something that you do once off. I think it's, again, one of those conscious decisions that you make every single day to sort of like hear his voice, right? But I'm just gonna say a few of the things that I did that obviously worked for me. But one of the biggest things that I did was I realigned my social circle. I essentially moved away from people that I felt weren't necessarily adding the right kind of value to my life, and I aligned myself with like-minded people. So like, for example, I started being more involved at church and getting to know more about the people that I was attending church with, and kind of developing friendships with them, on the understanding that, you know, we have this one common thing. So that's one thing that I did. I realigned my social calendar and sort of like the spaces that I wanted to be in. Like, if you invite me somewhere, I'm not just going. Like, I would think about like what that would mean for me if I went. And also just like, we're human, we're all flawed. So like, I could have the best intentions going somewhere, but going somewhere might be a situation where things would like spiral and like get out of hand. Next thing, I'm in a situation that I don't want to be in, you know. So that was also one of the things that, you know, I did. So for example, guys, I just realigned the places that you'd find me at. Like, honestly, like, if it wasn't adding value or if it was distracting me, then it had to go. Another thing that I did is periodically cutting things out of my life that I felt like I had no control over, and they were consuming me, or it was not the healthiest relationship. And an example of this, and I've spoken about this before, is how, like, alcohol. Like, I'm not obviously like an alcoholic or like over drink or anything, but I definitely am a social drinker. So if I go out with friends, I'll have a drink or whatever, which I think is perfectly fine. We're not going to get into alcohol and whether to drink or not as a Christian. That's a conversation for another day. And personally, I think it's like a personal decision. There's no one size fits all. I think you kind of just have to know yourself and understand what role alcohol plays in your life. And for me, it was that when I would cut out alcohol, it was maybe because I was feeling that, hey, if I go out tonight and have 2 drinks, because your girl's a lightweight, have 2 drinks, will I be able to wake up tomorrow wanting to go to church? Will those 2 drinks put me in a position where the devil can easily kind of like pry me away from what I was trying to do for God and for the kingdom? So when I'd be in positions like that, then I'll definitely like not drink, and I'll not choose alcohol. And I've done that for long periods of time, short periods of time, basically just deciding that if a relationship that you're having with something is going to impact your walk with Christ negatively, then get rid of it. Obviously you don't have to get rid of it forever, but get rid of it in so much as it messes up that relationship. If you feel like you've got control over it, then go, by all means, go ahead. So I would go out and not drink, or I'd go out and have 1 drink. That was me exercising my personal control over that thing and not letting it consume parts of my life. And for me, this part of my life just happened to be Christ, but that's honestly how we as humans develop unhealthy relationships with things, because it starts taking over other parts of your life and you don't even realize it, right? And like I said, another thing that I did was I obviously got more involved at church, which was great because I just developed this whole new circle of people that were like-minded, that, you know, didn't think the Christian jokes were corny, and you know, it was a good space to be in. I know a lot of people feel however they feel about church circles and the judgment at church and all these kinds of things, but for me, that's neither here or there. I think you have to take responsibility for your own journey to some point, and so like you make it what it is, right? So those are a few things that I did, and they completely changed everything for me, and I really felt like I was more in tune, right? And speaking of going to church and being more involved at church, one of the things that I learned from church, and that was like a game changer for me, was learning about faith and understanding how faith works, and how like when you unlock it, it's like mic drop, like that's it, like ooh, you've done it, like, you know. But again, like faith is one of those things, it's like a muscle. You have to keep using, you have to keep exercising, because once your faith is weak, nothing's gonna happen. And I think it's the thing for me about faith is that and it's in the Bible, you know, to hold fast to what God says, to the word that he has for us, and the confessions of our faith. So like what we're putting into action based on what he has said to us. And then because he is faithful, like there's no doubt about that, I think it comes down to us whether we're going to be faithful. And it's one of those things where if we can be faithful, he's going to come and not only match that but exceed that, right? So for me, I had to learn that, you know, if he says something to me in faith, believe it, baby. Believe it, because he's a faithful God and he hasn't yet let me down. So faith is a huge thing that I've had to like unlock, and that has been able to draw me closer to God, because I kind of sort of have an understanding of now what my responsibility in this relationship is in manifesting what I want for my life. Like I have an understanding about what do I need to bring to the table, just my faith, right? Another thing that I've learned that has genuinely, ooh, this eyeshadow popping. Another thing that I've learned that has changed the game for me was, again, understanding the concept of grace. And I think, guys, grace is just the most amazing thing. Like it's amazing, right? God's grace, ooh, it's just wow. When you understand what that means, it completely changes your understanding of yourself, your understanding of God. So like for me, I'm definitely someone who's very hard on myself. I'm not like a perfectionist, but when I don't do something in the way that I thought I would do it, and there was a reason for that, like I'm very hard on myself, and I'll beat myself up over the smallest things, and I basically don't forgive myself easily. And so it was crazy because I'd essentially be beating myself up over something that God has long forgiven me for. You know, that God, something that God has long forgotten. He has not written it down anywhere. He's done with it. Yet here I am beating myself up over it, right? And that's honestly just no way to live. Like, I also can't clearly talk when I'm doing my crease, my lid, so 1 minute. But basically, just being able to understand that grace is this gift from God. It's essentially the opposite of karma, because karma is like, you deserve all that bad, you know, and God is just like, no, you don't. So I've been talking so much, but let me finish what I was going to say about grace, which is that and there goes my AC. But what I was going to say is that, you know, I wrote this down about grace. Basically it says, the love of God shown to the unlovely, the peace of God given to the restless, the unmerited favor of God. And that essentially just sums up like what grace is, you know, like it just sums up so beautifully how amazing God is and how amazing his love is. And just that alone, like, ooh. And it's basically like saying that he has this unconditional love towards us that honestly we probably don't deserve. Honestly, there've been so many times where for me, honestly, I'm just like, how could anyone still love me after whiling out like this, you know? Like, because if it was me, I would have cut me off long ago, right? Like, but you know, he's not like that. And so it's this unconditional love towards us that we don't even deserve, and it doesn't even depend on what we do, how we are as people. Like, he just is just like, yeah, sure, I'm with you, you know, you're mine, and that's it, right? And the crazy thing is that we live in a merit-based world. So basically it's like, if you do good or if you work hard, you know, good is gonna come to you. You're gonna be rewarded, whether it's at work, you know, in your personal life or whatever. But basically it's like this understanding that, you know, you won't get anything good unless you do good. And grace is like the opposite of that. It's like mercy. So it's like, whether you do good, whether you do bad, like he still got you, like he still loves you, he's still forgiven you. And you know, that's what it is. And for me, this understanding has sort of helped me learn how to be less harsh on myself and to sort of forgive myself. And it's not even something that I've been practicing for a long time very much. I think I only started maybe like fully practicing it like maybe a month ago in this coronavirus time. And it's practicing grace or extending grace to myself. Being able to forgive myself for letting myself down or whatever. And it's something that has only I've been doing of late, only because when we went into lockdown, and I mean in New York, we've been on lockdown for the past, since I've been working from home since the 16th of March, and it's now almost 2 months later. And I would have this schedule of things that I had to do, and the moment I didn't do that, I would like just, oh my gosh, I'd feel so guilty, I'd be so mad at myself, I'd be so ugly to myself. And this bow is hurting me. I'd be so ugly to myself, and basically I would yeah, I'd just be really nasty to myself. And you know, you don't realize the effect of actually being stuck at home and how that impacts your productivity. You know, you're not going to be an amazing worker. You know, you're just going to be doing the best that you can. And I had to learn that and like not beat myself up about it. So if I didn't film the way I wanted to, if I didn't finish all the work that I had to, it's fine. And I mean, like in New York, for example, we don't have any outdoor space in our apartment, because that is like a luxury in New York, having outdoor space or like a balcony or whatever. And in the beginning, obviously, we were all scared, so we wouldn't even go to our rooftop of our building or whatever. And so it was a lot, like being at home, like you barely get any fresh air, you know. It was just crazy. So I had to learn how to sort of like forgive myself that you're not at the level that you want or need to be, and kind of just figure out like, okay, tomorrow is going to be another day. How can I then move to the next level? And yeah, so I've been able to also extend that grace towards myself and to my shortcomings and to other people. You know, if you know my husband, then you'll know he's like the most forgiving person ever. Like, you can't even vent to him, because he'll always like be like, yeah, but what if this happened, or this was the reason, you know. And it always used to irritate me until like I sort of had this understanding of grace, being able to extend it to myself, and then also being able to extend it to other people. Yeah, anyway, now we're gonna do makeup, because I've been talking a lot, and I need to get most of this face done. So I'm using the JUVIA'S Place I Am Magic liquid foundation, which I have had since last year, but I've honestly used maybe 2 times. And there's nothing wrong with it. I just think it's really full coverage, and I'm not the most full coverage person. But today we're gonna try it and see how it goes. Okay, so I think what I'm gonna do also is I'm gonna go in with my beauty blender, just because I want a bit more of a less look. Like, I don't want so much coverage, and maybe the sponge will absorb some of it and also give me a more airbrush look. So I'm gonna just go in randomly with this sponge. I also have the concealer here, which is, I have it in the shade, I think it's number 9. Again, also a concealer that I haven't used very much. I think I used it 1 time. So now I'm going in with my Sephora Micro Smooth baked powder to sort of blend out this highlight. Okay, next up I am going to do my contour, and I'm using this sleek cream contour kit to do that. And one thing that I learned from one of my favorite YouTubers, who's like a hijabi Muslim YouTuber, Aisha Harun, is that don't like make the line when you do your contour, even on your forehead, just because that's harder to blend out. So rather like put the product on your hand or whatever and like work it in. That way it blends out easier, and it looks more natural, and I must say, game changer. Because I've never been one for the contour, because it never just made sense for my face, because I have chubby cheeks, so there's no way that was real. So this kind of looks more natural and was a better fit for my face. bronzer, which for me, I use to set my contour. That's just who I am in this makeup game. Like, I set my contour with my bronzer. I don't know, that's what I do. And I'm using the CoverGirl Queen Collection bronzer in the shade, it's the Ebony Bronze. That's the shade, Ebony Bronze. Alrighty, and then for blush, I'm going in with my MAC Raisin blush. Nothing new there, guys. Ooh, there's nothing to say about this one. And then for my highlights, I wanted to do something not different necessarily, because I've used this product before, but I just haven't used it in a while, and I wanted something more coming from within. Like, I wanted my highlight to come more from within, and then yeah. So I'm using this. This is the NYX Away We Glow liquid highlighter. I feel like this has more of a luminescent, it's a big word, luminous glow than like my other highlighters. And to blend it out, I'm going to use a damp beauty blender. So before I go in on my eyes and finish off my eyes, I'm going to spray my face with the Huda Beauty, where is this? Huda Beauty Resting Boss Face makeup setting spray. Yeah. And then I'm gonna quickly do my eyes. 1 minute. Okay guys, so my eyes are done. I applied some lashes, little bit of eyeliner, and now I'm back. And I'm doing my lips, and I'm using the Glossier Balm.com lip balm to moisturize, and then I'm gonna do probably like just like a pinkish purplish lip, whatever. Anyway, so back to what I was talking about earlier. So for me, understanding all these concepts, faith, grace, and of course understanding, you know, how much God loves me, and just generally God's love, and also, you know, learning how to focus on his voice has really allowed me to like fully like trust him, like really trust in him. So it's really allowed me to like full on like trust in him, and you know, that trust has, for me at least, what has been able to keep me like standing so strong. Twig. I think I'm gonna use this lipstick. It's called Twig by MAC. It's what has enabled me to be able to stand so strong despite a lot of things that have been happening in my life, or have happened in my life, and of course in the world. Things that, if I'm being honest, like truly broke me in a sense. Yeah, but it was that trust, you know, it was that trust that let me know that, hey, it's okay to break. So it was that trust, as I was saying, that allowed me to like have this understanding that, hey, it's okay to break, because even if I'm broken and I'm in pieces, and this is something that I learned from someone also here on YouTube, is that even though I'm broken and I'm in pieces in his hands, right? And even if I'm broken and I'm in his hands, he's the potter, and so he'll be able to, ooh, no tears are gonna mess up his face, but he's the potter, and he's gonna be able to put me back together the best way he knows. and that's going to be the best way. So that was my 5 cents. And I'm quickly gonna go off camera, sort out this wig, and I'll be right back. Okay guys, so my hair is done, my makeup is done, and that's pretty much it for this video. I'm all dolled up with literally nowhere to go. It's about 9 o'clock and I have to go start work now, so I guess I'm just gonna look cute while I like send emails and write letters and all of that stuff. But yeah, thank you so much you guys for joining me on this video and listening to what was on my mind. I hope that maybe someone finds it useful, or maybe it plants a seed. It's like a seed planted in someone's brain that maybe you'll mull over and think about. But yeah, that's it for this video. Make sure you're subscribed, and show this video some love, and welcome to all the new subscribers. Yeah, I'm really happy with this talk and with what I discussed. Like, I think it was good stuff to talk about. I think it's important as young people to speak about these things. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Oh, why does this part doesn't want to act right? But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in my next video.